Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing an in-depth review on The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. So I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 star rating. There's a couple things about this book that I don't think make it absolutely perfect, so I couldn't give it that perfect 5-star rating, but I love this book. I thought it was very entertaining, and I want to get into the reasons why I thought that in a little bit more detail. But to give you guys a quick synopsis, we are following our main character, Tao, and he lives in this world that is just ravaged with war. They've had an ongoing war for hundreds of years, and so their society is split up into castes that end up going off to military schools based off what caste you were born into. And the military is insanely tough. The way that they train is so brutal and so bloody and so gory, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful for if you're looking for any kind of grimdark fantasy out there. Oh, this is just hits a spot right there. But Tao is a little bit different of a character than we usually get from normal chosen one tropes. And that is that he has no interest in being a warrior. He has this girl that he has his eye on in their little town, and he wants to actually fake his way, fake an injury in order to get out of this, to get out of his service that he has to do for the military. But I really liked how this main character wasn't your typical, like, bro. Like, he was like, no, I just want to have a family and just, hang out and live my best life here, let those other guys fight. So I really appreciated that about this book. So Tao is our main character that we are following in the story, and he is not my favorite. He's not my favorite because I feel like he's very one-dimensional. I feel like Tao has this one motivation, and the one motivation is revenge. I don't want to tell you what that thing is because I don't want to spoil it for you. But basically, the whole book is him building himself up, becoming the best fighter he possibly can. He works night and day, and he suffered from so many incredibly traumatizing injuries in order to get to the very top. So we are given a main character that isn't just gifted or talented, but he earns his way to the top by working hard. And I thought that was rather refreshing to see. Especially since he is from a lower caste. We have a very structured caste system in this book, and so he is towards the bottom, and so he's looked down upon with many people in his society, and so that's just another hurdle for him to overcome. So I thought that was great. However, Tao as a character for me was extremely frustrating to watch not grow. His main motivation in this story is the fact that he wants to avenge his loved one, and he doesn't have anything else going for him other than that. He really doesn't have any personality, and he doesn't seem to get a grasp of the consequences of what he wants to do. So he wants to murder these people that are much higher in a caste, and he's also got teammates that he's fighting with in the military, and he doesn't seem to consider anybody else, even though everybody else is kind of trying to help him achieve what he's wanting to do. And it really frustrates me where there's a lot of scenes where he acts out in anger, especially in the beginning. And that's one thing because, I could say that he's immature and whatever else, but there's scenes towards the end of this book where he's acting out in that same immature way. And I'm like, dude, you're dumb. Like, take a chill pill for just 5 seconds, take a breather, step back. And if it weren't for the characters that surrounded him, he would have just acted out and just murdered everybody. So to me, that was very frustrating to see that he had these huge character flaws from the beginning, and they didn't seem to get resolved throughout the book. So maybe later down the road, we might see a little bit of later down the road, we might see some character development there, but it just wasn't very strong in this book. So that was one reason why I couldn't give this book a perfect 5 stars. So the next thing I want to talk about is the plot. This book is about 90% plot development. It is driven by its plot. It is action-packed. There is hardly ever a time where we're sitting around talking. It's like sword fighting, dueling, what's it called? We're skirmishing. There are massive fights between the different, what they call scales. So it's like they're little groups of people. They train together and then they fight together. And the way that this military trains up their soldiers is they throw them out in a battlefield and make them fight, and they have like a tournament, and they get very competitive, and they say sometimes people die, and that's just a consequence of wanting to win. And so it's a very brutal world that we're in, but 90% of this book is fighting. And I would mark that up as a very, very harsh critique of a fantasy novel, because I'm not one that typically likes reading fight scenes. However, Evan Winter does a fantastic job. I think the military's coming in to like come get me. Like I was saying, Evan Winter is a fantastic action author. That is the one thing that I think I was most surprised by, especially with the debut author. I've read so many fantasy books over here on those shelves, and the most seasoned author can write the most atrocious action sequences. And for me, if the action sequence doesn't really make sense or goes by in a way that just doesn't flow in my brain, it really takes me out of the story. And a lot of the times I skim action scenes. I didn't do that once in this book because they were very well detailed and really came across as an actual fight. And so I was able to picture them in my mind a lot easier, and I think that's actually a plus for this novel. So towards the end of this novel, we do kind of explore a little bit of political intrigue. We are kind of introduced, and I'd be interested to go back and reread this first book after the full, I think, 4 books are out. But I would be really interested to go back and see the little snippets that Evan Winter had planned for this first novel, because there was a little bit of political intrigue towards the end that I think is going to be picking up in the sequel. So we are mostly focused on a linear timeline with Tao and his whole plot to get revenge, and other than that, we're not seeing a whole lot of politics take place until the end of the novel. So just something to keep in mind if you're someone like me that really enjoys political intrigue. I really like reading about politics, strategy-based fantasy worlds. That's my cup of tea. I love it. And so just so you guys know, this is mostly just an action novel, not a whole lot of politics till we get to the end. To finish it off, I just wanted to start talking about some of the things that I really, really enjoyed about this book, and then a couple things that I thought could be a little bit better. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that this book is over 500 pages and it flew by. One, I did read it as an ebook, so I don't have a physical copy, but it was 530 pages or something like that. It did not feel like that at all, because the way that the book is structured, there's only like 12 chapters, but there's sub chapters within the chapters. So it's like they're only like 5 pages long a piece. And so it's constantly just scene after scene after scene, and it makes the book fly by. So if you're kind of in a rut because you've read something heavy recently, I'd recommend picking this one up, because you'll have a blast reading it and you won't even know you read 100 pages. I think that this book is also a must read for someone in the fantasy genre. I think this book has really made its rounds over the last year or so whenever it got published by Orbit, and I think that's for good reason. I think that this book, being a originally self-published book and then going on to be traditionally published, I think we need to support more of that, because there are so many amazing things that come out of self-published authors. And I think this is a must read. If you've seen it, if you've thought about reading it, pick it up. It's entertaining. If anything, you'll get 10 hours of like just sitting there, just being shocked by what this author does with his characters. So that goes on to my last point that I want to make, and that is the stakes are extremely high in this novel. And I want to say no spoilers in this, but this author is not afraid to rip your heart out and kill off your favorite character, because, oh, there's a couple scenes in this book that just had me like, I cannot believe this author did this. I was shocked. So if you guys like your high stakes, if you guys like no one here is safe, this book might just be for you. I don't like ending on a bad note, but I do want to talk about the few critiques that I had while reading this book. This book is rather surface level. I think there's a lot of things with losing a loved one and, you know, being separated by the woman you thought you were going to marry or significant other, going off to the military, that I think Evan Winter could have explored a little bit better in this novel. I felt like it was very surface level. We didn't really explore the emotions or, you know, the grief that our main character is feeling. And I think Evan Winter could have went a little bit more in depth. I feel like there was just so much focus on the plot and not really the characters, and I think that we could have had a little bit better balance there. But that's just me. I preferred to have my characters built up a little bit heavier than what he did in this novel, but if you're a plot-driven reader, that shouldn't be a problem for you. So, and then finally, this might just be a me thing, but another thing I want to look out for is the fact that there is a lot of characters. There is a lot of characters, and there is a lot of terms related to this book. And since it is an Eastern African inspired novel, the words may be unfamiliar to you if you're a native English speaker. So I didn't realize, because I read an ebook, that there was a glossary at the end. So keep in mind that there is a glossary that would have helped me out so much, because I had to use all my context clues to try and figure out what some of these terms meant. But just be aware that there's a lot of foreign names, and the names can sometimes look similar. So maybe keep a list of the characters and like some of their main traits, just because it might help you out reading this one. With that, please let me know in the comments down below if you have read this novel, and also if you're looking on picking this novel up. So while you're down there, if you could hit the subscribe button, also leave a like on this video. Every time you interact with the video, it helps other people find my channel. We are almost at 300 subscribers, and I am so excited. I don't know why I'm pointing like this. I just have been in a mood today. So with that, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.